Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and start with the meeting. First item on the agenda is call to order, of course, and then the next item is roll call. We're all here, the councilman, except for Mr. Don Borman, who is still at home nursing an ailment. Miss Abby Marshall will explain to you how and what we're doing on the recordings tonight, so there are no questions.
We're trying a couple different things. We're gonna try the owl again. And then also I set it up on my iPad to mostly of the counselors, but it can hear everyone. So then I will upload that tomorrow once, make sure everything's good, but we're hoping to do 2 ways to avoid any technological issues, but we all know technology, so let's hope we're good.
Okay. First, next item on the agenda is approving the minutes held from September 13th.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion made second by Bob, all in favor? Thank you. Next up, item on the agenda is a public hearing renewing of the automobile junkyard recycling license, and Nate is here. I told him to pronounce the name.
You guys all received the information on the inspections that we did for 2023, the scrapyard, junkyard, and recycling license renewal. There hasn't been any changes to any of those
Okay.
since last year, and they have my approval.
I'd make a motion, we approve those automobile junkyard recycling licenses.
Motion is made, seconded by David, all in favor? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Nate again, talking about the HHE 233 holding tank application.
That's correct. So an HHE 233 form is done by a site evaluator for a placement of a holding tank when a property is not suitable for your typical septic field and tank. So site evaluator by Derigo Management's the one that did it. Just looking for approval so I can issue that permit.
So it's all good with you, though?
It's all good with me, yeah. I talked to Derigo, I've talked to the property owner. Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah.
I'd make a motion, we approve that holding tank application.
Motion made, seconded by Bob, all in favor? Thank you.
So you guys will need to sign it. I'm gonna give it to Jan.
Yeah.
There's only 3 signature
Yeah,
spots.
give it to Jim, pass it, give it to me, and I'll
Yeah.
sign it and move it on down.
Okay.
Next item up is a first reading for our new general assistance. Anybody here for it? We'll line it right up. Jim?
So the maximum, every year we do this in September and October, we have to have a first reading and a second reading. I included in your packets, there are some changes. They did not go up with allowances for rents. They did go up with allowances on your food and household and personal items. It's the standard that we have to follow when we're doing general assistance. So it does require 2 readings. So at the next reading, then you'll have to sign that document. You will send it into the state that we've done it properly.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, thank you.
I'd make a motion, we accept this as the first reading of the new general assistant maximums.
Seconded by David, all in favor?
Thank you.
Next item up is discuss. Sir?
Do we just need 3 signatures and then we're done?
That's it. That's all you need. Yep. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Mike. Is this, Nicole's gonna give us a discussion on our reevaluation bid.
We did put that over there. Do you want it to sit there?
Put it over there.
Want me to sit? No, I don't think I need to sit. Okay,
All right.
good, I'm good, thank you. So, I included in your packets for you guys. The one bid we got for the reevaluation, was the only one we received. It's, I think, a good bid. It's a good company. They've done a lot of revals here in Maine. It is expensive. It's the going rate, and it won't be done. They don't have any availability in 2025. We would have liked. They do have availability in 2026. So last year, as you remember, we put $100,000 into a reserve account for it. So it's going to take quite a bit more, but again, not being completed until 2026, we have time to raise that. In their original bid packet, I did put an email at the back of it because they did not include personal property in with it the first time around, and I asked them if they were available to do that, and they are, and it would be an additional $25,000 for that. I didn't get really, I had calls from a couple of other people when the bid initially went out, but that's the only actual interest or definite interest that we had. So I don't know if you guys have any questions about it at this point.
Is there anything within the proposal about an increase if we don't accept, do we know what it would increase to?
We have no
next
idea.
year, or- It's not a lot, is it a locking price? or-
So that would, right? So if we signed a contract with them, it would be a locked in price, yes, but I believe they said in their contract that this was like good for 90 days from when they sent it in for us to lock it in. I mean, everything's more expensive the more we go on, so I don't know if it would increase substantially or not in the future.
Bob,
So in the request for proposal, did it not say that the town expected the reval to be done in 2025?
It did, they put an addendum in there saying that they don't have any availability for that, but
Is it possible that that's one of the reasons why you only got one bid?
I don't know. There's not a lot of companies that do towns the size of Oakland anymore. You find very few. One of the other companies that does bid on some of them does not work with Trio. So they obviously didn't bid because of that, but we've seen in like other towns bidding.
And what was that thing about Trio or using a new or?
So, yeah, they did give us two numbers, one with Trio, one with a new computer system. It's Patriot. It's a different CAMA system, which is CAMA stands for Computer Assisted Mass Appraisal. It's a different system. I don't know. I've no actual use of it yet. There's 4 or 5 other towns that have just moved to it recently in Maine here. I have seen it demoed once. It looks like a really nice computer program. It does things well. We would just have to have a bridge to bring him into the billing for Trio, for the billing info, but there are other towns that use it with Trio to bill, so I don't think that would be a huge issue. It wasn't a big price difference though, so to me, like, do you change just to change? I don't know.
Thank you.
Angela, I'm sorry, go ahead, Angela.
What is the bid? Can we give?
I believe so with changing, computer systems to the other one, it was $310,000 plus an additional 25 for personal property.
310.
310, and with using Trio, because Trio is a little more cumbersome to use to data enter, it would be 315. And again, still the additional 25 for
And
personal.
what's the last evaluation we had?
1996.
Okay, so people are gonna lose their mind when they double the tax.
Well, the tax bills won't double, right? Like unless for some reason we've got a really bad inventory on your house. So the way that taxes work is you have a total amount of money that you have to raise for the town. And that's handled here at the council and at town meetings. We raise that money. You divide that amount by the total valuation of the town to get your mill rate. So what happens when you, let's say I just today decided I was gonna double everybody's value because that's what the market said we were supposed to do. So I just straight across the board doubled everyone's value. If the same amount of money was raised, the mill rate goes in half and everyone's tax bill stays the same. So it's not necessarily that your tax bills are doubling, but I can guarantee there are some properties here that their values would double.
And what is our evaluation right now? Is it 5%?
I just got my latest state valuation in, it was at 59. But that was looking at numbers that didn't include my increase that I did this year. I assume it was right around 65, yeah.
And 26 will be 100% evaluation.
How much will the oncoming cost for the new software cost?
So the 310 included the software initial price of the software, but I asked about the yearly, and the yearly is just about the same as the Trio program.
Okay.
we use now. So
Okay,
the
so it's-
yearly does not change.
So it's
much.
not gonna hurt anything, and how about training people, will they have to, other people be retrained?
It would include a training for both Christine and I, but that's.
Okay, only 2
included with it.
people though, so that's not bad, okay.
Nicole, they talk about needing some office space and a computer and some other stuff here. Where would you propose
Got a big office up there. I think we could fit them.
up in?
I think we could fit them up in assessing. I think we could, I think what they really need is more of I think we can make room. Christine and I have kind of, I don't know if you've been up in a little while, but we've kind of pared down what we have up there, and I think we could fit.
I was just thinking of the difficulty getting in and out of the place, it's kind of.
I don't think it would be a huge issue.
Okay.
So if this is the only one, kind of going back to Bob said,
Mm-hmm.
if this is the only one that put a bid in, but they put a bid in with a clause of 2026,
Mhm.
should we go back out to the others and say, the only bid we got was 2026? Would you like to throw in a bid also,
I
if it's going to be 2026?
I believe I could do that. I believe we could go out again and try and do it for 2026 and see if we have any more interest. I believe we could.
Nicole,
Well,
Done.
go ahead, sir.
Would you explain to everybody what this valuation being so low does to the homestead exemption for anybody that gets that on
Yeah,
their?
so I don't know if you guys have noticed, but so last year we were at 96%, so our homestead exemption value was $24,000. This year, I could only certify 95, and when I say we weren't actually at 96% of value. It's all based on 2-year-old data. So last year, when we committed taxes, it was based on, so now we're looking 3 years ago, and we're allowed to certify 10% higher. So essentially, when we drop in ratio, our homestead exemptions are gonna come down too. And I think if you guys have seen that, you know that it's coming down, and you're not getting the full $25,000 anymore. It's gonna happen again next year. We're gonna have to come down on it because we won't be as high. How much? Depends again on if we do any factorings or adjustments in town here that I can see that need it and try and be as fair as we can about it, but
So when we do get back to the full evaluation, you'll be able to get the full 25,000 homestead exemption again.
absolutely. And the other thing is that we also, as we drop further and further down, if we're below 70%, we lose reimbursements from the state. We lose portions of our tree growth reimbursement. So we really want to stay above that.
John Cox?
These companies that are bidding on this, are they out of state or
This-
in state?
This particular one is from out of state, but they have done, I believe, 12 to 14 of them in the last 3 years here, something like that.
Is there anything in there that determines the location of where they're doing their work, like names? You couldn't compare it to Massachusetts.
Oh, no, they don't. Nope. So what they do is they come and they look at our sales from here in Oakland. They're only using sales from Oakland when they're doing the sales analysis.
Are you doing physical surveys or is this all done?
Nope, they actually will visit every single home, every single property in Oakland. I don't know what you guys know of revaluations. We haven't had one since 1996. I can guarantee there are certain properties that we don't have all the details of what's there. They built a deck or a shed or there's a pool. For whatever reason, we're not picking up everything that needs to be there. Whether they did it without permits or it got missed, who knows, but 1996 to now, you know it's happening. The other thing that's happening is there are properties out there that in 1996 were in good condition, right? So when they went out and they looked at it in 1976, they said, yep, this is a good condition home. And it has deteriorated since then. And eyes haven't been on it since 1996. And so it's overvalued right now in comparison to what it should be compared to the same exact property that was well taken care of. And really, we do need eyes on every single property. I think it's, in my mind, well past time to get a good inventory out there.
Thanks, Dawn.
John?
I guess I'd bounce back to the question you said, they based it on sales in the last, what, 2 years, 3 years?
They look at, yes, but we're looking for market value, so we're looking for the most recent. Yeah, 'cause we're looking at, usually they look at the last 2 years to see where the trend is going.
Is my concern at the end of the day. Horror stories I heard about how they're bidding on homes for the last 2 to 3 years because of COVID. What that has to do with it. Is it a real evaluation?
I would agree to a point with that. I think at first I was very worried that it was gonna be a bubble. As time goes on and we're into the 3rd year of these great big huge prices, and even with the interest rates being what they are, the prices are still up very high, but I'm less afraid it's a bubble and more likely the fact that these values are here to stay. That said, with a brand new revaluation and a brand new inventory, if we find that the bubble burst, right? It's much easier when everything's brand new for me to be like, I know my data's good. When I take it down by 5% across the board, I know I'm really taking it down by 5%, not these people are at 50, these people are at 60, these people are at 70, and I'm bringing them up 10. Well, 10% on 60 is different than what it should be. So I think when you have good data, it's much easier to adjust it.
Dawn, do you still have something to say?
Yes, I do. I think they did a very good job with their packet. And I don't have any problems with where they are, but they seem to be able to address all types of towns in many different states. I do have the same thought that Mike had in regards to other firms, which we might have reached out to. And I guess my first question is, how many other reval companies did we address with this? How many did we send out requesting?
So I sent it to those on the main revenue services listing of reval companies. A bunch of those are very small reval companies that wouldn't have the bandwidth to do this at all. I don't know how many of them they were. I also put it out on the Maine Municipal Association's RFP database, I'm gonna call it, or website or whatever, so that other people could see it as well, so.
So how would you reach out to them again? Would you go through that same listing?
Yeah, I mean, it would be going out to the RFP again and sending it out again, and this time, and I can put a cover letter with it that we're looking for now, 2026 and not 2025, and see if there's any more interest.
How long of a time would we have them to respond?
We could do it in as soon as 2 to 3 weeks. It doesn't take long.
Because I guess obviously time does relate to money, and if these folks are the best one, you'd like to get them on board, but I guess it would only be right to let the other ones know that we've changed the dates, and if they're interested, send a proposal.
I could do that. If that's what the board wants, I will absolutely do that.
All set, done?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further questions?
If not, I'll make a motion, we table this until we get back from Nicole. from the other company.
Yeah, motion's been made to table, seconded by Bob, all in favor? Thank you. Next item.
Thank you.
Thank you, very good.
Under what code?
Next item up is to discuss the town charter. Last time it was brought up during the meeting, and it wasn't the time or the place. If anyone would like to talk about the town charter, they're more than welcome. Other than that, what we could do on it, you can do it, is we would like you to go see Jan in the town office. And you do have to get some signatures as a procedure you'll have to follow through to do that if you wish to change the town charter, and we can go that way. If anyone wants to discuss anything tonight, they can.
How many signatures are required for something like that?
You need, go ahead, Jen.
619. I didn't hear. 619, and it's a period of 120 days, it can be out there. If it's out there longer than that, then it becomes null and void and you have to start again.
And is that just to change the charter, or is that to set up a commission to discuss the charter or to review the charter?
That would be, there's a lot of definition between an amendment and a revision to the charter. There's a lot of laws about this, there's a lot of rules. When I read about it and keep reading about it, it talks about what is the avenue, where are you looking? You could have one item that is earmarked, but it could be in 6 different places of the charter. So if that was the case, then that would be just an amendment. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob? Did you gather that from the reading? Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but if you're talking about a revision of the charter, then you're talking about possibly the language that you want to have a charter commission formed. You want to go the whole 9 yards. That's a different process. People need to come in and have 5 people sign an affidavit and etc. So I've got it all spelled out here, and still I have questions. But if somebody wants to come in, and I'd be happy to share this with everybody, and then you can see what your goal is.
Okay, so I have another question. If all that, say, I'm proposing is that we need to at least have a review of the charter, would that be going the whole 9 yards and getting the 5 signatures, affidavits and stuff, or? I was just thinking a committee of some of the town council and some citizens could read through the charter, see if there's anything that they feel like needs to be revised, that type of thing, and then go the whole 9 yards.
Still think they'd have to.
Okay.
It's up to the person or the people who want to change something in the charter, or who want to initiate a charter commission. It's up to the people who want to do one of those two things to decide what it is they want to do. And then there is a process for 5 signatures, but at the end of the day, you still need 20% of the voters in town who voted in the last gubernatorial election. And that is a total number of 619. So it doesn't matter whether you want to have a new charter commission, or if you want to change 1 or 2, if you want to change 2 pieces that aren't related, then you need 2 petitions. So you need a petition to change A and a petition to change B, and you need 619 signatures on each one. If you wanted a charter commission, you'd have to petition for a charter commission. And then those people need to get elected. And that process will take 2 years. Probably.
Okay, because the election of those, am I right, Bob, that the election of those committee members could be a special town meeting or your regular? So it could be quite a ways out.
It's involved, but it's certainly doable.
So 5 people need to come in and sign an affidavit, and we can start a charter commission?
No.
No,
No,
no.
5 people and 619 signatures.
5 people, and then it goes to vote, and people have to be elected onto the commission. And then from there, that'll take about 2 years to go through all of that. And then from there, then you make your revisions and propose them, and then you need the 610 people, correct? I think I got it.
No,
I lost you.
no, I lost.
Okay, so you have 5
Steps
people.
might be right, the order's wrong.
Yeah.
The steps are right, the order might be wrong.
Yeah, maybe, so you have 5 people come in and do the affidavit. And that allows for a charter commission to be possible, but then people need to be elected onto that charter commission.
I would invite you to go to the main revenue statute, I'm sorry, not main revenue, main statutes.
Yeah,
And look at chapter 30A.
Mhm.
Chapter 3, which is about home rule, which is what town charters are about home rule as opposed to state rule. And from that, you will find exactly the procedure to do it without us trying to remember it tonight.
yeah, because 2103 is charter commission membership procedure. I did start looking at that one today. And you said the other one was 30A.
So I guess my final comment, to simplify it, you need to decide what it is you want to do.
Yeah,
Then you need to come see Jan and have something written, a petition that you'd like Jan to
right.
produce
Yeah,
petition papers for. That's the process, and then the rest of it all follows along.
Okay. Sounds good.
You all set?
No, I was looking into it today just because I was thinking that we might just need to be able to review it as citizens and council, and just see if there are any places that need to be tightened up or anything like that, but that was just me personally looking at that.
See no more questions on that, we'll move on. The next item is pole location permit on East Pond Road.
we do have the application here in front of us. And exactly, the location is beginning 886 feet southwesterly of Loon Nest Estates. And that does require the counselors to sign, and I have the document here. Yeah,
Questions or comments on the new pole location?
right now.
Is it a personal pole location or
Some of it is, right?
Yeah,
It's
Consolidated.
consolidated
So-
communication, that's doing it.
See, no questions, no problem. Like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion, we grant this pole location permit.
Motion made, seconded by David, all in favor,
There's a document coming down for you to
to
sign.
sign. While the document's coming down, Kelly Rudder is next on the contacting town council members.
I know I personally have tried to contact town council members via email, never get a response. I take it personal, but that's okay. But Mr. Perkins' email does not work and has not worked for some time, at least a couple of weeks. And I would like to propose that the town council members each get a town issued email, much like the firefighters and the employees get, so that we know that they're well maintained. And if possible, when a constituent reaches out to you via email, they at least get a response that you received it. That would be my request.
Sure.
Kelly, I'd like to answer that in one way. I use my personal computer and I think the others do. Where I worked, I was trained that I should not be doing anything of a controversial nature that might go to litigation on my personal computer. Because in the discovery process, they can take my personal computer. And this recent problem that everybody wanted answers about, I will not answer them on my computer about that. Now, in the past, I've had emails from people and I answer them. But on this issue, I will not, because I don't want them to come take my computer. And that's the way MMA does that in their training. And I got it where I work, that I shouldn't be answering or discussing anything of a controversial nature that which might go to a trial on my personal computer.
I would say that an acknowledgement is not
I
necessarily,
couldn't hear you.
an acknowledgement. Thank you, I received your note, or an auto reply that you can set up on your computer. Is not gonna be something that's gonna have your computer cease to take it to court. It's not discussing it, it's letting someone know you did receive it.
Well, couldn't do that, but most of these had a question. The ones that I got,
Well,
wanted,
you got one from me that didn't have a question, but I didn't
wanted
get an
details on
acknowledgement, so.
I was wondering if maybe the town council could get small tablets that they could do things like emails back from, so that you wouldn't run into that issue again. I mean, small tablets are only about $100. I'm sure we find it in the budget to do that. And that way you could keep your personal and your business things separate and not run into any litigation problems or anything, and that might clear up everything. And when you get a new town council member, they get that with their email address through the town and can do that type of business there.
something to consider.
And now if you email me today, my email is up after 4.5 weeks. I have-
I'm confused why some people have a town employee email and some people don't. That doesn't make sense to me.
I think it's the employees that have it.
But when citizens have questions, they need to be able to reach you folks, right? That seems obvious. Isn't it?
I've gotten many phone calls, and I answer all my phone calls. And if people text me, Kelly's done a great job of advertising my personal phone number. And that's how I know my phone number's out there. Anybody can have it. 716-6968 is my personal cell
I
phone.
just copied it from the town website.
No, and that's
I
fine.
understand.
My address is there and everything. And I do apologize. And you were absolutely right. 4.5 weeks. I've been fighting with GoDaddy for 4.5 weeks. And today, finally, it is up. Now it is up. So if you want to email me, go ahead. I have 2 emails at my office and I can get to you. So thank you. Next question. Any more questions or comments on that?
So that's a no for town employees, for you guys to have town email.
I don't think that is. I think it's something for discussion.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that's something we discussed previously with the town manager and for whatever reason, we all decided not to do that. Or she decided not to do that. I honestly don't remember. I don't see why we couldn't.
I think that's a very good idea as far as getting the tablets, having the one email dedicated to those. Because with the MEA training, it does tell you that anything can be taken that way. Any conversations between you all or everything can be documented. So I think it is a good idea to get the tablet and just get one main email for each one of you so that, you know, it's all separate from any other entity in your life.
Are you available to train me on that? Ed?
I would love to train people on that. That's what one of the things I do.
I don't think that's a good idea, because that's one more piece of equipment that we each need. You may know that I'm a state representative, and I have a state representative's email address. And those emails, everything that comes and goes out of that email address is stored forever and ever.
As it should be.
As it should be. And if we had a separate email, Bob Nutting at Oakland, US, whatever it is, then everything in and out of there could be recorded. If you send one to my personal email, it can be on the same computer, but you don't have the right to look at my personal.
I know, but I was just giving you guys like, say you got that, then it can't interfere with his business, his personal life, his mother-in-law. I mean, it wouldn't matter because it would be only town business.
Well, when Mr. Perkins was in the legislature, he had he had his personal business, and then he had a legislative email, and everything that went in and out of that legislative email is recorded somewhere in Augusta forever and ever and ever, and can be FOIA'd or forwarded in the state of Maine. If they're looking for something that was untoward stuff. And I think that's preferable. What Kelly suggested is preferable to having another piece of equipment that I have to carry and bring and take home, and I'm just telling you what I think. And I don't see why Kelly's suggestion isn't a good thing.
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, I don't know if you all know, but I originally was from Barry, Vermont. I was on their town council, well, city council for 20 years. We had state reps on our council, we had, private citizens, we had business owners, just like you folks are. Okay, we had a designated email to do with city business. And yes, it gets saved by the city, so that if there's questions about, say, somebody calls and says, after you're not voting on something, you have that information, you can go back and look at it, whether it's 2 years or 3 years down the line. But it's very, very informative to us as the city of Barry to have the availability of having that. Yes, it's another little tablet you gotta carry. But what we did was we gave it to our city clerk and she held on to it. We could access our email from home with the same using your town email. But you have it here at your meeting. If you needed to write a note to your stuff on something that's coming up and you want to make sure it gets discussed, you can do that. And it's saved for prosperity.
So something to kind of go off of Mr. Dunning's stuff. Or I should ask, does the town email have a capability like the state representatives have, that it can record everything and just hold that forever and ever and ever? Because if so, then you could use your own, because it would just be like a pass through, it wouldn't be sitting on your computer. It'll be on a different server. It would be staying on the town server, even though you can.
I think we can find out the answer to that question. I don't know.
We all looked at Abby, quickly, and Abby said, not it.
That's past my, I know, like, just listening to, what people were saying about just the acknowledgement part, I know when. With some softwares, you can send a red receipt that knows, like, I know when Kathy emails me about Oakfest stuff, she requests a red receipt be sent once I've opened the email. But I think that has to be done on your end when you send the email to do, just so to see that someone read the email. As far as the other stuff, that is probably something we can find out, but that's
Yeah.
past my, that's past my brain.
I don't think the average citizen would be able to know how to do the red receipt.
Yeah.
For the people that I've worked with trying to even access their normal,
Mhm.
easy to access emails.
I'm just saying, I know that it's
It's
doable.
possible.
Yes, I know that that's doable.
Oh, David.
I don't think any one of the councilors are opposed to having a town email. I think we do need to research out. Does the system that we have store that stuff? If not, maybe we need to look at a different system that way. I don't think anybody's opposed to having it, not the email. Cause you can run it off your own laptop, it's just, they're gonna take that email, not everything else.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it.
I'm not opposed to that.
I've talked to Kelly about that.
Hopefully it doesn't go through COVID today, but
When will we hear more information? When will we hear
we'll
more?
look into it, and when we get back to the next meeting, we'll,
Thank you.
yeah, good idea. Thank you, Kelly. Okay,
Does that cover everything, Kelly?
Excuse me?
Does that cover everything?
Yes, thank you.
good. Our executive session, we do not need to go into it. We're gonna go, Don Borman, do you have anything you'd like to bring up tonight, sir?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, Don. David,
No, all set.
Bob,
I'm good.
I'm all set. David,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
second by Bob, all in favor. Thank you, folks, and good night.
There you go.